Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Morgan, and here we do all things spooky, but 5 days a week, I do nothing but read you guys scary stories that you send in to me. And the other 2 days of the week, we alternate between talking about Appalachian folklore, scary books, scary movies, my own scary stories, all kinds of stuff. It's a good time if I do say so myself, and if that sounds cool to you, I would love to have you here. But with that being said, please check out the description below for where to send in those stories. You'll also find other social media links and podcast episodes and things like that. So please check that out. So today is just a sidebar. Today's my filming day, so I'm gonna try to film minimum half of the week's videos today. But I just filmed yesterday's video and we had nothing but technological issues. So I'm really hoping that it's better with this one. Something was just in one of those stories and I think it was a mimic story. So my whole body's gonna take a screenshot if we get any more mimic stories, because I don't think whatever's in my house is letting me talk about them. So what was that? Anyways, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, so starting off with this one, if this sounds familiar, I actually did tell it on TikTok yesterday because it's from one of my friends on there, one of my mutuals, and you probably watch his content. His name's Dustin, and he's great, and this story is terrifying of what happened to him, so let's get into it. Hey, it's Dustin. I wanted to finally send in one of my paranormal stories for you to read, and I hope you get scared from it just like I did. I was 17 when this happened. Elkmont has always fascinated me, as entire logging town just left behind, slowly rotting into the mountains. It was around maybe 45 to 50 minutes away. I'd been up there a few times during the day, poking around the abandoned cabins and walking through what was left of an old resort, but one night I got it in my head that I needed to see it after dark. I don't know why. Maybe I thought it would be exciting. Maybe I wanted to prove something to myself. Either way, I grabbed a flashlight and drove out there, alone. I still remember how quiet it was. Not just the kind of quiet you get deep in the woods. No, this was wrong. No crickets, no wind through the trees, just this heavy, waiting silence, like the whole forest was holding its breath. I walked through the town past the empty cabins with their hollow windows and porches half eaten by time. I wasn't scared. Not yet. This changed when I heard the whistle. It came from up ahead, somewhere near the old clubhouse. I remember that my friend Josh and I had explored that one time during the day, and you could walk up underneath the porch because it was hollowed out under there. My mind snapped straight to that being the place that the whistle had come from. A long, slow note, like someone calling a dog. I stopped, listening. Another whistle, closer this time. The exact same pitch and the exact same length. I swallowed hard and called out, "Hello?" Silence. Then from behind me, another whistle. I turned fast, my beam sweeping over the trees, over empty doorways, over nothing. But the feeling hit me all at once. I was not alone. That's when I saw movement at the tree line. Something tall, just at the edge of the dark. My flashlight flickered, and for a split second I saw it. It looked like a man, but it wasn't. Its limbs were long, too thin, like it had been stretched. The skin was pale, almost gray in the moonlight, pulled too tight over its bones. It had no hair, no clothes, just bare, emaciated flesh. And then it moved. Morgan, I swear to God, it dropped to all fours in a way no person ever could. Its back arched, bones cracked as it shifted, and then it ran. Not towards me, not yet, but around the cabins, fast, circling. It was playing with me. My heart slammed in my ribs, and I took a step back, then another. My brain was screaming run, but my body couldn't move, and then clear as day, I heard a voice. Help me. It sounded human, but it wasn't. It came from the trees, then to my left, then to my right, then to behind me. I spun, and then there it was, closer now, its mouth too wide, its teeth too many, and when it opened its lips again, it spoke in my voice. Dustin. I ran. I don't remember making it back to my car. I don't remember the trees whipping past me or the branches that tore at my arms, but I do remember the sound, the whistle coming from all sides like it was in the trees, in the cabins, everywhere. I peeled out of there so fast, my tires kicked up gravel, and just before I lost sight of Elkmont, the rearview mirror, I saw it, standing in the road, watching me leave. I floored it out of there. Every time I glanced in my rearview mirror, I expected to see it there, standing in the road, waiting. I remember the trees, how they were like pressing in closer, how the dark between them didn't seem empty anymore. Like something was still there, running alongside me. I didn't slow down, not even when the road evened out, not even when I saw the wooden sign marking the entrance to the campground near the highway. My heart was still hammering, my skin still crawling, my body still running on autopilot. I knew I couldn't just pull over on the side of the road to catch my breath. I needed to be somewhere, plus I needed to pee. So stupidly, I turned into the campground. It was off season, dead silent, no campers, no fire pits glowing. In the distance, just empty picnic tables, locked up ranger buildings, and the old concrete restroom near the entrance. I pulled next to it and shut off my engine. The second the headlights cut out, I regretted stopping. The dark felt heavier than before, but my body was still trembling, my mouth dry, my pulse pounding in my ears. I needed a minute. The bathroom light was still on, yellow, buzzing, flickering through my dirty windows. I got out of the car, forcing myself to take slow, steady breaths. The air was sharp. My boots crunched on the frost-stiffened dirt as I walked to the restroom entrance. My legs still feeling like they might give out any second. That's when I heard it. Not a whistle, not a voice, a buzzing. I stepped inside and nearly gagged. Flies. Hundreds, maybe thousands, swarming the ceiling, the sinks, the stalls. Thick and black clustered around the buzzing fluorescent lights like a living, shifting mass. They coated the mirrors, twitched on the tile walls. And Morgan, it was winter. There shouldn't have been flies. Not this many. Not any, really. But they were everywhere. I stumbled back, barely keeping myself from slipping on the wet floor. My chest was heaving now, panic clawing its way to my throat. As I turned to bolt out the door, I heard something. Soft. Almost too soft. Like laughter. I didn't look back. I ran. I threw myself into my car, hands fumbling with my keys, shaking so hard I nearly dropped them. I slammed my foot on the gas, and I didn't stop again. Even now, all these years later, I still don't know what I saw that night. I don't know what followed me and watched me and laughed when I stopped. But I've never went back. I'm never going to go back, but sometimes late at night I swear I hear that whistle. Ed Morgan, sometimes it comes from right outside my window. Okay, not really, but you know we don't whistle in the woods. Dude, the Smoky Mountains are a breed all on their own. It is literally terrifying. Oh my god. I'm sorry, but the way so many people, including myself, have seen the exact same thing in Appalachia and people want to be like, no, it's not here. Mother of God. So many people are seeing it. I'm sorry. No. Ugh. Anyways, next story. I've always been sensitive and attracted to the paranormal, and this is a long story, so buckle up. My grandmother owns an old mill house in Hickory, North Carolina. I love Hickory. Yes. Oh my god, is this from Hickory? She's always been a very religious woman, from putting holy oil on the walls to various Christian relics scattered around the house. The first story. When I was younger, my grandma's hairbrush would go missing, and she would find it under the bed with the hair missing from it. She did have a small dog, but there's no way he would have done that because he was very old. One night, I came in through the back door and immediately got a bad feeling. I look over into the kitchen and see my grandma standing with her back facing me. I remember seeing her long white hair and the same blue nightgown she always wore. I called out to her, but I got no response. I walked past her and went into the living room where my grandpa sat in his recliner. I look over and see my grandma sitting on the couch. "How did you get in here so fast?" I asked her, and she responded with, "I was in the living room the whole time. I didn't even hear you come in." Huh. Second story. Back in November, I stayed with my grandmother because my grandpa was in the hospital. I had fallen asleep with the door open so that I could see into the hallway from my bed that was positioned in my room. I'd woken up late at night with the same uneasy feeling as I sat up and I saw my grandma walk through the hall and go to the bathroom. Although I couldn't see her face, I knew it was her because of her long white hair and blue nightgown. After a while, I got out of bed and walked to the bathroom to check on her because it had been several minutes. When I get to the bathroom, the light was on, but my grandma was nowhere to be found. I walked to my grandmother's room and opened the door to see her lying in bed. I wake her up and ask her if she had just gone to the bathroom, and she tells me that she took her sleeping pill at 9 o'clock and has not been up since. If you have any idea on what this could be, feel free to reach out. Thank you for reading. So that could be a few things. It sounds like something imitating the likeness of your grandmother. I don't know why. It could also be, which is a little bit less scary, just like conflicting timelines. So it's just her walking at another time and you're just getting a look into it. Unless other things start happening in the house, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Don't love that you're getting an uneasy feeling. Putting up some protections might not be such a bad idea, but yeah, you said she does have, she's very Christian, has her protection up. So whatever your faith is, I would put up your own thing. So if you're a Christian as well, put up your own cross or something that reflects for you. All right, next story. I'm not sure if this is paranormal, but I've definitely had some weird experiences. I'm also a little shocked you don't get more stories from Louisiana, and I'm here to provide one. Sorry if this is long, I'm not used to doing this type of stuff. I really don't get many from Louisiana, and you would think from New Orleans alone I would get a ton because that town, from what I've heard, is very haunted. But I really don't get many from Louisiana. So I'm excited. For context on myself, my dad's side of the family is very connected to spiritual stuff. They're Roman and my great-grandmother read tarot for a living. I have cards, but my dad refuses to teach me. My grandmother used to have a bet with her sister that she would have a grandchild with red hair. None of them have red hair. It's all black or brown, and lo and behold, the first grandchild, me, had red hair. She also predicted that I would be both early and I would be a May baby when I was supposed to be born late June. I ended up being born at the very end of May. My dad takes his stuff super seriously and tells me not to play with things I don't understand. He found an old Ouija board in my closet when I was little and took it outside and burned it. Personally, I've had some weird stuff happen. I dream things and they happen a lot. Sometimes I think I see things in the corner of my eye, and I've experienced sleep paralysis since I was 10. Just before I started getting sleep paralysis, the main story happened. I was in Girl Scouts for most of my childhood and I went camping lots of times, but there was this one time that was different. The camp we went to was a few hours out, and the drive there we were being silly and reading scary stories from the hit website scaryforkids.com, just having a good time. When we got to the camp, it was late and the sun was down, which wasn't abnormal. What was abnormal is that there were some issues with booking, so instead of everyone being in the main building together, we were spread out amongst a bunch of little cabins deeper in the woods. Each cabin was about the size of a rectangular storage shed and had 3 cots, which meant we had 3 girls per cabin. It ended up being me, my best friend at the time, and a girl who was a year younger than us. We moved our stuff into the cabin and tried to make the best of it. We were all exhausted, and I noticed something weird. There was a carving on a beam in the cabin. I thought at the time that it looked like a symbol from the Blair Witch, and it freaked me out. I wish I had a phone at the time. All I had was my iPod Nano, so no pictures. My friend ended up painting over it in nail polish, not realizing that by morning the nail polish would just sink into the carving. There weren't real windows or doors in the cabin, just screens, and the screen door didn't lock, so we pushed our bags in front of it. We kept hearing weird stuff in the night, and we had to talk about cakes we wanted to try to calm down enough to fall asleep. The door not locking? Ooh, ick. Ick for, not paranormal reasons. I don't like that. We were there for a few days, and it seemed relatively normal once we got to see it in the daytime. On the second day, we got bored of being with all the little kids and opted to walk back to our cabin with another friend I'll call Cassie. Beside the cabin was the shower area, another small building with rows of showers. The showers got super busy at night, so everyone was trying to get clean and go to sleep, and Cassie decided to go shower while we laid on our cots just talking. The sun was going down, but we knew it would be a few hours before anyone would come back, so we weren't really concerned. I got off my cot and knelt down to get my canteen out of my backpack when I suddenly got this feeling to not look, but I was 10 and stubborn, so I looked, and I saw what looked like a white hand pressing in on one of the window screens. I screamed and dropped my bottle, and a few minutes later, Cassie came out of the shower wrapped in a towel, saying the lights kept going in and out, so she cut it short. I had this gross feeling the entire rest of the time we were all at that camp. I think a lot of this can be explained rationally, and I know I could have dramatized it because I was so little, but I don't know. It still doesn't sit right with me, and I hope you like this story and that it wasn't too long. It was not too long. That is really creepy. I like to think that it was just your brain playing tricks on you because you guys were reading creepy stories and you kind of scared yourselves, but who knows, really? All right, next story. Hey Morgan and Eric, I previously sent you stories for YouTube and I had mentioned that our property felt like a giant portal. As I'm emailing you, my dad has just passed away yesterday after battling cancer. I am so sorry. I had voiced prior to this passing that I deeply wanted to cleanse our home and property. My family knows Dad is going to stay around here, but I do not want him stuck in any way and plan to burn white sage through my house and later white sage with Palo Santo for the property. My fiance and I weren't sure, though, how exactly to do the cleansings aside from burning and smudging sticks and going from corner to corner through each room. We opened the main door after he passed yesterday morning. No mirrors were around and after the doors were shut. Is there anything in particular we need to say or do to help cleanse? So, personally, I don't really use Palo Santo or sage. That's totally up to you. What I use is typically dragon's blood incense. You can also use a stick of selenite. You can use a bell. There's a lot of different ways you can cleanse. I did put a video, which you did it very similar to the ways I do it. I do have a video where I walk you through how to do it and the different things you can use. So I'll link it below if you want to check it out. While you're doing it though, in case you don't want to watch that, either say out loud, all energy is welcome except for bad energy. If you're negative energy, you cannot stay. You can also envision bad energy leaving and all that stuff, but I will link that video. But I'm so sorry about your loss. That is so sad. Okay, next story. This is the scariest encounter that I ever had in my life. I'm very open to spirits. I guess you could say I can see them. One time, I was even terrorized for 2 full years by 3 evil entities. So I lived on a native reserve for 12 years, and the backyard of that home was literally where they would meet, and just past that was a trail that came to a T. You could turn left to go down that trail called the John B. Trail, or you could turn right and go down there towards the pit. All the elders in the community, which is called Millbrook, always told everyone to never go to the pit. Anyways, this was back when I was kind of still not scared of anything. My boyfriend at the time and me took our truck down the trail to the pit, and we planned on just having a little fire and chilling and having a good night. But when we got there, it was like 5 minutes from our home, we got in a big fight. Before we even got the fire started or anything, I said, let's just go home. Like, I'm mad, let's just go home. And we went in the truck and it wouldn't start. So when we realized it wouldn't start, we were like, great, we're gonna have to walk home. We're still screaming at each other. Keep in mind, this was a very toxic relationship that I'm not in now. So we start walking back home, and we didn't have any flashlights or anything. I only had my cell phone flashlight. So we're walking down the trail, and we're still bickering, and we're sober as well. Up ahead, I see someone standing in the trail. All there is my little tiny crappy flashlight from my cell phone in the moonlight. And at first I go, okay, it's just one of those guys that lives near the reserve. It always walks around, but he would never walk around there. I told my boyfriend at the time to shut up because there's someone up there, and he looks up and he sees it. We're walking a little bit more, and then all of a sudden, all I could feel was the worst fear that I've ever felt in my entire life. I can't even explain it. I look up and that person is still there. But now I could see them a little bit better. And I was like, oh, they're 8 or 9 feet tall. It looked like it was wearing almost a top hat or fedora. It was solid black, like it was wearing some sort of trench coat. I look over to my boyfriend, and I could tell that he had been hit with the same fear. He was white as a ghost, and I could see it in the darkness, and the only way for us to get out of there was to go towards this thing. So me and my boyfriend just look at each other, and we're like, okay, we gotta run home. We have to run towards this thing. But as we ran towards it, it vanished out of nowhere, disappeared. We really ran fast home. When we got home, I could feel that something was watching. I locked all the doors and windows and shut the blinds. The next morning, we walked back to see if my boyfriend could fix the truck and drive it home. We went and tried to start it, just for fun, and it started right away. It was so weird. Yeah, I don't think you were supposed to be there. Oh, no. So yeah, I don't personally know if I would go back to that area. Anyways, that is all for this video. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and for sending your stories, and I will see you tomorrow.